Okay, this is the last power bank I am reviewing. I know, but this time, I promise. Sorta. No, it's probably not going to be the last power bank I ever review on this channel, but I am taking a long hiatus from power banks just because I have just reviewed way too many of them on this channel. But I did agree to this one because if there's one power bank that so many of you keep bringing up in the comments, it's this. This is the EcoFlow Delta 2. Without a doubt, this is the most unique power bank I have in my arsenal. None of my other power banks look anything close to this. And many of you have asked me about the EcoFlow and I just couldn't give you an educated answer because I've never had experience with it. So when EcoFlow reached out asking if I want to review it, I had to say yes. What really intrigued me was the shape. Everything is pretty much slimlined. All of the ports are in the front and in the back, so it makes it easier to kind of just have this facing you in the rear, whereas my other power banks, all the ports are in the front, so it takes up a pretty wider footprint. This can kind of just slide in anywhere you want. So let's take a closer look. So this is a pure sine wave 1800 watt power bank with a surge up to 2700 watts, which will allow you to power up some of those higher amperage devices. The capacity of this power bank is 10,024 watt hours. It does have a lithium iron phosphate battery, which is pretty standard for power banks these days. It's a lot safer, it's a lot lighter, and a lot more efficient. The dimensions for this is 15.7 inches this way, 11.1 inches tall, and about 8.3 inches wide. Now that 15.7 inches wide does not include these handles. Without the handles, just from here to here, it's about 12.5 inches. Speaking of the handles, they are built onto the unit, so they're very secure. It's not going to break off on you as compared to power banks that might have like some sort of a handle with a hinge that could break. These are built right on and it's very secure. Now I've mentioned before I usually don't like handles that stick out and give the power bank like an awkward shape because it just makes it hard to kind of fit. But in this particular power bank, it does make sense because if you were to push this up against something flat like the back seat or your fridge, well, normally you'd say, well, that's a lot of wasted space right there. But that extra space is actually giving room for any plugs that you might have plugged into here. See, it's not going to get interfered or squished by whatever you press this up against. EcoFlow didn't tell me anything about that. I actually just discovered that on my own. Whether that was intentional or just coincidental, I think that's pretty cool. Weight of this unit, 27 pounds. Not bad at all. Very easy to transport up and down into your rooftop tent if that's where you want to place this, or just carrying it wherever you go. You don't have to haul like a really heavy power bank. This is super duper manageable. You got vents at the top that flows right over to the other side where there's vents as well. And then on this side, you do have this port here if you want to add additional EcoFlow power banks to expand the capacity. So starting in the front, you have your USBs. You have two USB-A's that are 12 watts each, 24 watts total, and they are 5 volts, 2.4 amps. And then next to that, you have fast charging. This gives you 18 watts each, 36 watts total, and they're 5 volt, 2.4 amps, 9 volt, 2 amps, and 12 volt, 1.5 amps. And then below that, you have your USB-C's. They're 100 watts each, 200 watts total, and they're 5, 9, 12, 15, and 20 volts at 5 amps. Your power button's right here. Just press that to turn it on. And then to activate any ports, just press the button that's in that region. Now, as far as the display is concerned, pretty simple. You have your hours to go right here. Right now it's showing me 99 hours because I don't have anything plugged into this at the moment. Next to that, it'll tell you how much percentage is on the power bank. Right now it's at 100, and you see this blue ring around it. And as you start to use it, this blue ring starts to decrease. Over on the right, you have your input and output, letting you know how much is coming into the unit and how much is coming out. And then right now you see a Wi-Fi icon letting me know know that it is connected to Wi-Fi. As you start to plug more things up to this, a bunch of other icons are going to appear as well. I'm not going to go through all of them with you because there's just way too many, but you will start to see things like fan indicator, input power, and then on the other side, you have more ports as well. In the middle are your AC ports. You get 6 of them, and they are pure sine wave. Again, 1800 watts with 2700 watts of surge. So anything you pretty much throw at this, you'll be able to power. Almost. Again, to turn that part on, just press that button as well, and that'll activate AC. And then below that, you have your 12-volt ports. You have your standard 12-volt socket here, cigarette lighter type of plug, and that'll give you 126 watts max. And then next to that, you have your DC 5521 output, which will give you 38 watts. And then to charge this thing back up, all of your ports are right there. You have your standard DC port if you want to plug this up into your vehicle and charge it up that way. They do provide you a cable for that. That'll give you about 8 amps, and it supports 12 volt and 24 volt systems. This is also the same port you would use for solar panels, and you can max it out at 500 watts. And in the middle is your AC port. If you want to plug this up to a home outlet, they do provide you with that plug as well. Personally, that is always my go-to because it's just gonna charge this thing up way faster. In the US, it's 100 to 120 volts, and this thing does have what EcoFlow likes to call extreme fast charge, which gives you 1200 watts max at 10 amps. Now this does have Bluetooth connectivity. I actually already downloaded the app and then plugged it into my phone, and you'll be able to see all the stats with your phone as well, so you don't have to go to the unit. As you're seeing right now, 100 watts, 0 watts on all the different ports because nothing is plugged in, and it's a pretty simple app. Not much going on here, which makes it easy to kind of manage. So with all the power banks I already own, why did this one pique my interest, and why am I now starting to realize why many of you have asked about this particular power bank? Well, number one, the form factor of this I absolutely love. Like, I like the fact that it's slim and you don't have like this wide footprint. You can just slide this kind of anywhere, and all you're really seeing is this part, meaning that you don't need to clear everything in front of it in your cargo area just to be able to plug some things in. You can kind of just slide this next to your fridge, and then you have all the space in your cargo, and all you're seeing is this. With my other power banks right now, you know, usually the power bank is like pressed up against the back seat, and there's all this cargo in front of it, and I got to move it out of the way in order to get to those plugs. Whereas this, I mean, you have that really slim profile, and this is all you're really seeing. Also, really love the weight of this, 27 pounds, very, very manageable, especially if I want to bring this up into the rooftop tent and use it there or wherever I want to take this. It's not that difficult to kind of carry around compared to some of my other heavier power banks. Now, obviously there is a trade-off. Because of the size and the weight, it's not going to have as high of a capacity as my other power banks do. However, you can grow the system by adding additional batteries, but then that would just add to that size and weight. Now, a couple of things that I thought I didn't like. One, again, I've told you guys about how I don't like handles that stick out like this, but now after realizing just how helpful this can be when you have things plugged into it, it does make a lot of sense, and I'm actually kind of liking that. And it's not really going to get that much in the way. Again, this will create just that buffer so that when you have things plugged into it, it's not going to be pressing up against those cords. But speaking of plugging stuff into this thing, the one thing that I love, but is also kind of the downfall, is the fact that the ports are on both sides. So if I have this in the vehicle, and say I have my fridge right here and I have a bunch of cargo here, I have access to all of this very easily, but whenever I need to plug things up into the AC part, I gotta have to kind of turn it around just to get to those ports, which is not a big deal if you plan to plug stuff up and then leave it alone. Then you can kind of just, it's out of the way. But if you're needing to plug something up, then you're gonna have to kind of move this around to get to the back. So it can get a little bit, I don't know, finicky to have to kind of keep moving this back and forth versus having a power bank where all the ports are in the front and you can access all of it. Again, what you're getting with that slim factor, you're giving up in that kind of everything in front of you type of access. Now, personally, I wouldn't be taking this on any journey that is more than like 3 days. nor would I even really use this as a like home backup power bank. I have higher capacity power banks for those type of trips and for emergency purposes. I would consider this middle of the road capacity and power, right? I mean, 1800 watts pure sine wave, 2400 or 2700 watt surge, and 1024 watt hours. I mean, that's great for just the basic stuff, maybe even 1 to 2 days at camp, but I wouldn't really be using this for the extended trips unless I found a way to charge this back up again, either in my vehicle or using solar panels. But don't get it twisted, this has purpose in my life. I plan to use this as my mobile production power center. Like, this is perfect for keeping my laptop charged, charging up my phones, tablets, camera batteries. This is one of those things that if I wanted to work on the beach this weekend, I could easily bring this over to the beach. It's not very heavy, lay it down in the sand and get to work. If I'm going to an expo and I need power at the booth, this would be good for that, because you're only using it for, I don't know, a couple hours, you know, maybe the whole day. And that's what I plan to use this for. In fact, what if I DIY'd a couple of like charging ports up here, like a MagSafe charger, maybe a camera battery charger. I mean, they don't have wireless charging up here. I wish they did. That would be awesome. But since we have this blank space, maybe I could DIY something here. The EcoFlow Delta 2, I'm starting to see what the hype is all about. Thank you guys for putting this on my radar and wanting me to review it. This is definitely going to be perfect for that mobile workstation thing that I need. Probably not for 3, 4, 5-day camping overlanding trips. Some of you might use it for that, and probably not going to be my home backup when the power goes out, and some of you might do that, but perfect for those other smaller tasks where I need just the right amount of power in a very compact space like this. But yeah, that's it. My last power bank review that I'm going to be doing for a pretty long time. You better have enjoyed it.